So in my Knuckles video, I stated that Knuckles feels like a side character in his own show, the show that has his name up in center. He feels like you don't see him as much, and people shared this sentiment a lot throughout the internet, where they feel that Wade overshadowed a lot of Knuckles throughout the series, and that Knuckles didn't do anything. And I agree with that, right? I definitely agree with that. I feel that Knuckles did not get the respect he deserved throughout this whole series, and that Knuckles was just wasted throughout the series. Maybe that the budget didn't coincide with Knuckles appearing in every episode in the Knuckles show, that you can't have Knuckles in the Knuckles show for some reason. And I would say that these are all points that stand on their own, right? Like, these are points that make sense and have some ground to them. But I personally feel that you should be able to, when giving criticism, you should be able to give what the person should have done better, and what helps the person improve. And to me, what Paramount should have done for the Knuckles show, aside from having more Knuckles, right, is actually focus on the more important characters or the more interesting plot lines throughout this Knuckles show. Because you can have a Knuckles show where Knuckles doesn't show up all the time, but you are building up to the threats that Knuckles has to face throughout the series. And one of the main complaints that I made is that the most interesting characters aside from Knuckles, right, don't get used at all. It's all Wade. And the gun soldiers, you see them a bit, but you don't hear any of the motivations and stuff. I'm pretty sure in the beginning of the series, the female gun agent threatens Knuckles, and you kind of expect like this rivalry to brew between them, where you find out what she's like, what her character is like, and stuff like that, and you get nothing. None of that ever happens. They hint at something, and then it never happens. So I'm going to break down what the Knuckles show should have done and how it would have been more interesting, starting with the main villain, who only shows up at the end of the series and then like loses because he doesn't do anything. And that's the mechanic guy, the giant robot that shows up in the end. So starting with, he should have just have better motivation. We do get a motivation, but it's so boring and it's so uninteresting that I've even forgotten what his motivation was to hunt down Knuckles. I'm pretty sure it was just some generic I needed his powers type bullshit, and no one actually cares, or I didn't care, because it was so underwhelming, and he only shows up like 2 or 3 times in this whole series with 6 episodes and hours of content. He only shows up like 2 or 3 times. So we should have gotten more of his backstory. And a thing, just like a synopsis that I wrote down, is like, we could have had him be the head muscle and builder for Eggman, and have him be the one that helps construct all the robots that you see throughout the first and second movie. And then Knuckles shows up and kind of starts doing all the heavy lifting and stuff. So he feels threatened and challenges Knuckles and loses, and then has to leave Eggman because of this embarrassment, and then goes on to like steal and make blueprints and stuff, and make makeshift weapons with the knowledge he had already making these robots, right? And just throughout that, we already have a more compelling villain, right? We already have someone that you could kind of grasp at, like something tangible, something you can bite your teeth into, instead of whatever the hell they gave us in the original show. And then you can have, this is when he starts making a name for himself, because the gun agents fear this character, but we have no idea why they fear this character. For some reason, he's just the, oh, you can't mess with him type, but we get no semblance of why we can't mess with him. And it's something that pisses me off throughout this whole series, is that we don't know anything about the character. We don't know anything. So this is something. Now you have something for this character. And with the gun agents, you could have just gotten more into their backstory. The threatening gun agent, we have no idea why she became this threatening, why she actually decided to work for Gun, as well as the other guy, who actually we get a bit of him, we get something, but it's not enough. That it just leaves you wanting more, because you go into a bit of his backstory. If you actually paid attention or tried to pay attention to whatever he was saying, whenever he was talking, it's like he was a street kid, and then he got this job because it's easy, like he gets to bully people around and beat people up. So we could have gotten gone deeper into that, but instead, no, we get a bunch of episodes where Wade is bowling. So yeah, there's a lot this show could have done. There's a lot of wasted potential in this show. There's just even the simple things that I've stated here. You could go on for hours and hours dissecting and going deeper into what could have made this show actually good. And it's a lot. It's a lot of content. There's a lot of Knuckles content out there. There's a lot of ways you could have handled this plot. There's a lot of ways. There's just a lot that has gone left on the table, that has gone wasted with this Knuckles show, and I'm very disappointed. Hopefully Paramount gets their shit together when Sonic 3 comes out and we actually get a good adaptation of a Shadow story. If a season 2 of Knuckles does happen, that they take into consideration all the criticism that the show has gotten and actually make it good and actually finish the plot lines that you've started, that just ended randomly because you guys didn't write through them. So that's enough of this rant. That's all I have to say. So please do all that YouTube stuff. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the socials in the description. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.